Welcome to Web Development Technologies, Fall 2025 course. I am Jim Kaufman with Rankin Technical College. In this course, we'll explore the essential tools and skills you need to build modern websites. I am truly looking forward to starting this semester with you all. We'll be working with some newer books and an updated curriculum this semester. I hope you'll find the material engaging. My goal is for this course to help you build the foundation expertise you need to succeed in web development. Let's go ahead and get started here. So the objectives of this video is just going to do a quick instructor introduction. Introduction to Application Web Development Technology program at Rankin. We'll discuss what you will learn in this course. I'll show you a few jobs that are specific to the skills that you'll actually be learning. We'll go through the course format, discuss a little bit how to succeed in this course, and we'll go ahead and discuss about attendance. Attendance is an important way it's handled in online courses. A little different than when you go to a classroom every day. It's a little bit different when we talk about attendance. Just quick note about withdrawing from the class and refund policy, and also talk about how the work ethic grade also is incorporated into your overall grade. So as I said, my name is Jim Kaufman. I'm an instructor here at Rankin on the Application Web Development program. I worked for 18 plus years as a software developer, multiple different companies, and I did also a lot of government contract work as well. I worked for companies such as A.G. Edwards, MasterCard. I worked for a bunch of different government on multiple different government contracts with different agencies, such as the Department of Defense, the USDA, NOAA, which is the National Ocean and Atmospheric Association, and also a little bit of work for NASA as well. Also did a little bit of work on GSA contract in addition to that. So multiple different government contracts I worked on. And I also did a little bit of management of software teams as well. As far as education, I have I've been around for a little while, but I got a certificate back some years ago from St. Louis University, a certificate in web development. And I also have a bachelor's degree from Webster University in business management. As far as my certifications, I was a certified Java programmer. And if you guys know anything about computer languages, some of you might know a little bit, some might know a lot. Some of them, this is going to be very new for you. So I was a Java program for most of my career. Well, besides just Java, that's kind of the back-end server technology programming language. In this program, we use C#. C# is very similar to Java, okay? And besides just Java, also a lot of web development stuff, and that's what this course is about: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, which, I'll talk about that a little bit more here. I have a certification, PMP, Project Management Professional certification, and I got about 4 different cloud certifications, and also I have what's called Security Plus. It's a lot about how to secure different networks and different things like that. So multiple different certifications, and for me, I just kind of want to mention, this has been a great career for me. I hope it will be for you as well. Met a lot of interesting people. I've learned a lot of things over the years. And one thing, kind of want to point out is in this kind of industry, it's all about learning. If If you don't really like to learn new things, it's probably not going to be for you because there's always something new to learn. Things are constantly evolving and changing. So, if you're a person that likes to learn new things and try different things, this is kind of right up your alley, so to speak. So about the Application Web Development Technology Program. So this course is this first one listed on here, the AWD 1000 Web Technologies, Web Development Technologies. Okay, and this is about the different technologies. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. CSS is cascading style sheets, and JavaScript, which is a front end, for the most parts, a front end web technology, a web programming technology. And we'll talk about that later because it used to just be a front end thing. Now it's also used on a back end, and we'll talk about what that all means, front end and back end. So I don't want to get too far ahead, but this, the course will introduce you to a little bit into content management systems, how you can write code for accessibility, so for screen readers and things like that. We'll talk about web mobile first type coding and so forth, and also things such as search engine optimization and many other things as well. But this is the course we'll be taking. So for the very first year, these first two courses that are listed on here, the AWD 1000 and the AWD 1100, which is 1100 is the Programming Fundamentals with C#. These are the two first year courses. And the next two here, the AWD 1111 and the AWD 1115, these are both second year courses. Okay, so before you could take either one of these, okay, you have to complete both of these. Now, this is kind of the natural one to take first, but it all depends on when you start at Ranken. And so if you start this semester, you're going to be starting with AWD 1000, which is our web development technologies. But if you would have started last semester or you start next semester, you'd be taking the Program Fundamentals with C#, right? So it's pretty much like every other semester, which one's going to be first. But the whole thing is, before you can take either one of these, the third and fourth, the second year courses, you have to complete both of these with a passing grade of C or better, okay? I'm not going to go through all of what each one of these is necessary about, but just real quickly, like I said earlier, mentioned that I was kind of a Java programmer. That's like a lot of back-end server type stuff, okay, where you're programming stuff on a server, right, as opposed to building like web pages where you're viewing that in your browser. The stuff you view in your browser, that's done with web development technologies, okay? When you communicate with something else, when you're clicking something usually for like a form or something, and you're sending that to the back end. And that is more done on the C# here, right? So that's kind of more the back end type programming, okay? And then here, the AWD 1111 here, this is actually takes the AWD 1000 and it intensifies that, so to speak. It kind of takes that to the next level, okay? You'll see here on this one, it says JavaScript. Whoop, I went a little too far there. It says JavaScript programming. So basically we do JavaScript here, okay? We're going to do a lot more JavaScript in the second year course, okay? So like I said, though, this one is basically a continuation of the web development technologies. And then this one here is AWD 115 is going to be a continuation of the C# one, okay? Each one of these are all 14 credit hours, okay? So, and I'll mention this a few times here in this video, 14 credit hours. So it's more than just a course. A lot of college courses are 3 hour, maybe 3 credit hours or 4. This is 14. So it's going to take a substantial amount of time commitment, okay? It's a 14 credit hour course. So to go in depth a little bit more, in this course, you'll gain the foundation skills and knowledge, okay, in web development by learning the following. So here's the core web technologies, and this is going to be the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Like I said, don't worry if you don't know what any of that means. We're gonna learn what that all means, okay? And these are the essential technologies used for creating websites. And then we're going to also use, coding techniques and best practices to build effective web pages. We're going to use some different frameworks. Introduction to Bootstrap, okay, and so Bootstrap's used to make those websites look a little prettier and add some functionality to them. And so we'll get into that in this course. We'll learn a bit of beyond just the basic stuff here. We'll get in a little bit into the React framework towards the end of it. Show you some advanced applications, okay? And this kind of stuff is actually covered in depth in the second year course, okay? In that second year course. You're going to be using some development tools, and these development tools you'll pretty much be using all the way through this whole program. All 4 classes, you'll be using Git for version control. And what that means is basically when you write code, you need to save your code somewhere. And you don't want to save that code on your machine. If something happens, your machine breaks, it's unacceptable, you can't log in, or something unfortunate happened, like it got ran over by your car, or someone stole it or something like that. You don't want your code there. So what we do is we use a versioning control system so we can check our code in. So then it'll be checked in online, so you can always come and get that later on. Okay. We'll be working with some tools such as GitHub Desktop, and that's used to basically as a kind of interface to go ahead and push your code out into these GitHub repositories. Okay. And our editor, what we'll use to create our HTML or our CSS or JavaScript, we're going to use Visual Studio Code. And I do want to mention, for anybody who's in this course, there'll be some people in this course that this is their very first course at Ranken, and there will be some students in this course that already took the C# course. And in the C# course, you use Visual Studio 2022. 2022 is the editor used. And so for this course, though, we use Visual Studio Code, which is a completely different tool. Okay, just kind of want to point that out. I'll point that out again probably a few times here in the next couple of weeks, just to make sure when the students join the course and get going, getting things set up, all the C# students will need to make sure that they download the Visual Studio Code as well, okay, besides the one that you already have. And you also learn different validation and debugging tools. So we'll learn techniques to validate your work and ensure standards compliance. And we'll leverage Chrome developer tools. And we use those so you can debug, analyze, and optimize your web projects. So here's some jobs that are specific to the skills you learned in this course, that you will learn in this course. And this isn't a full list, okay? And this isn't really necessary for the whole program. See, some jobs will, you'll need to have that C# and some back-end technology knowledge and database knowledge to do some jobs that are more encompassing, so to speak, okay? So like a software developer or something like that, right? Where you may need to know about the front end and the back end technologies. You'll have to have a more broader understanding and experience, okay? But I'm just kind of focusing on jobs that are kind of line up with the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, okay? And so a front end developer, they're responsible for building and implementing a user interface and user experience. They primarily focus on client-side development. Okay. And when I'm saying client-side development, that's what you're seeing in your browser. Okay, that's what you're kind of seeing in your browser. Okay, and they utilize such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's what this course is about, right? A UI designer. A UI designer is kind of more of a creative professional who specializes in designing the visual elements and layout of a digital product, such as websites, mobile applications, etc. But their primary focus is on creating kind of visually appealing, more than just that code. Writing code's kind of one thing, but this kind of a UI designer is a little bit more on the creative side, to make it a little more appealing, intuitive, user-friendly, etc. Okay. A web developer. A web developer is a skilled programmer specialized in building and maintaining websites and web applications. So a web developer is kind of usually like a kind of a front-end developer, but also is proficient in some other things besides just the core web technology fundamentals. And they might have some other, it's saying scripting language, PHP, Python, Ruby, or maybe even other things such as C Sharp, Java, whatever. And each company, what their definition of these jobs are, it can be completely different. Okay, what a front end developer at one company, it can be completely different than what a front end developer at another company is. It's just the nature of the beast, so to speak. It's just how that kind of works. So don't look at these and say that this is what this is the only definition or list of technologies for a certain job. They can vary tremendously. Okay. So for this course, this is an online format for this course. So I will be holding instructor-led live sessions every week. It won't be every day. And one thing about Rankin's all about really hands-on experience, right? And so in this course, we will be doing you'll have lots and lots of assignment. You'll be doing lots and lots of coding. So you'll have a lot of opportunity to be doing that as opposed to just all book lectures and books. But I will be having some lectures, usually Monday, Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday. Most of the time, Thursday and Friday is going to be lab days, and it'll all kind of depend. Okay, there's going to be some variations to how that works, but for most part, a lot of times I'll have live sessions on Monday and Tuesday lecturing, and then you'll go ahead and the rest of the time you'll have a lot of time to do your assignments, right? And all the live sessions that I do, I will also record them, because some of the students in this course might be working full time, or this doesn't work for their schedule. They might just work part time, but they work in the mornings, and so lots of variations on the students here. Some are full time students, some are not. So there's an opportunity. You can come to the live sessions, but you're not obligated to do it. And like I said, I'll be recording all of the live sessions and putting that out on a YouTube playlist. As far as lab days, and like I said, we kind of call it lab days. That's kind of more of a traditional kind of thing, I guess, at Rankin, because a lot of things were labs. You do your kind of your book type work on, and then you do your lab, right? Your hands-on stuff, so to speak. But lab days, we have different assignments, and I'll go through that here in a little bit. We have different assignments, and so on lab days, it's not like you only can do your lab assignments. You can do any of your assignments, right? It's for anything. And I'll go through that a little bit more when I get to that here. And also on them lab days, I'll be available to help. We won't go like for an online type thing for those lab days. You'll just be working on your own, and I'll be available either through email or on Discord, that you can send me a message, and I can help you out if needed. Okay. As far as the course textbooks, these are the two books: Responsive Web Design with HTML5 and CSS, and the other one is JavaScript for Web Warriors. Okay. And these books are available via Cengage. And to get your book, what you need to do is go to the main page of this course on Inside Rankin and go down to the bottom, okay? And actually, I think at the point when I'm creating this video, I just have the very first one on there. Hopefully by the time you see this video, I'll also have the second one on there too. You're not going to need that second book for, probably, 6 weeks in or so, okay? But the HTML, CSS stuff, we'll probably spend about 5-6 weeks on that part. And then after that, we'll be doing the JavaScript stuff. So we spend a little more time on the JavaScript stuff. It's a little more complicated. There's a lot more to cover there. So that's kind of how we divide it up. The HTML and the CSS is kind of the first part. And the second part is the JavaScript side. Okay. As far as assignments, like I just mentioned, assignments will be the multiple types of assignments. So we'll have hands-on test, we'll have labs, homework, exercises, and written tests. There'll be, and I'll explain a little bit more what's the difference between those. And in some cases, they're not all that much different. It just kind of follows some of how the book sets things up and so forth, and what we kind of done traditionally in this program. Okay, we'll talk about that later. But like I say, on lab days, you'll be working on any of these as needed, right? Whatever you need to do at that point in time. And all your assignments can be viewed and will be viewed on Inside Rankin once they have been assigned. Okay, once I assign something, I'll put a start date on that. Necessary start date. They'll show up on that start date, and then I'll have an end date when they're due. Okay. Most of our assignments are going to be assigned on a Monday morning. Okay, on a Monday morning, and they'll be due by Sunday. Usually, you kind of have the whole week. Okay, and but there's going to be some assignments, the hands-on test, where I'll be giving it you on a Monday, but it's going to be due like Wednesday by midnight, or the end of Wednesday, or Thursday. So you might not have a whole week. We'll discuss that later. But most of the other assignments, the labs, the homework, the exercise, written tests, usually I'll give them on a Monday. You have all week long to do those. Okay. And obviously, you don't want to wait until the end of the week to get started, because there's a lot of work, and I want you guys to succeed. And the only way you're going to succeed is by really spending a little bit of time here and there to get your works done. Okay. So as far as this course, there's also additional resources other than the reading materials. There'll be some study guides, website links, and other handouts that will be provided to assist the students. And also, we have a tutor that's assigned to our class, and I'll send you their contact information later. And don't be afraid to ask for their help. That's what they're there for. They're getting paid for this, so don't be afraid to ask for their help. So I want to talk about how to succeed in this course a little bit. So this course is a 14 credit hour course, and it requires a significant commitment of your time to do well in this course. So this says spring. Yeah. Oh, that's right. The spring semester of this course is 16 weeks. So to succeed in this course, a good rule of thumb to dedicate around 20 plus hours. I'd actually probably think that 25 or more. And it's all going to depend on lots of different things. And so don't feel bad if you're putting in a lot more time than that. Okay. And it's all kind of depends on, everybody's at different levels. So where you're at right now, as far as your knowledge of computer systems helps, using Windows, being able to do some different tasks, download things. There's lots of different other things besides just writing code. You have to learn to manage all that, and some of that stuff takes time, right? And it depends on your computer system, what you have too. If you have multiple screens, it's always good to be able to have multiple screens. Not everybody's going to have that. You might just be sitting with a laptop and one screen, so you're going to have to go back and forth. When you got multiple screens, it's easier to kind of manage that, and kind of can be make things a little quicker for you. But not everybody's going to have that. I understand. But like I said, everybody's going to be at a different level. Nobody's at the same level. So some students might get their work done in less time. Some may have to invest much more time. Okay, you'll just have to kind of see how that goes as you continue in the course. So the important thing is, make sure you create a plan and schedule and stick to it. Don't wait until the last day of the week to start your assignments. So a lot of the assignments, most of the assignments will be due on Sunday night, and you really don't want to get in a situation where you're just starting on a Sunday. It's kind of a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for not passing the class. Okay, so instead allocate time throughout the week. Okay, and aim to make progress every day. Okay, make sure that if one day you don't, for some reason you can't do anything, make sure that next day you really kind of try to make up for that a little bit. Okay. Read the book chapters. It'll give you a good foundation and the necessary information you'll need to pass the written test. So the written tests are pretty much based on the book. Okay. Some of the assignments we have is kind of in addition to the book. Some of it will come straight out of the book. We'll also have some other assignments that are kind of not necessarily didn't come from the authors of the book, right? They're kind of outside of that. But it'll be all the same concepts. Don't be afraid to ask for help. We have various options available to provide assistance. Obviously, I can schedule. If you're struggling with something, I can schedule a meeting between you and I for an online meeting. We can discuss it. That's one option. I'm closer to the Wentzville campus, so if you have something and you need me to meet you out there or something, that's an option. And also there's the St. Louis campus. At the same time I'm teaching this course. This course is also, the same course is being offered at the St. Louis City campus. Okay. And so you can go there for assistance. Okay. I know the instructor very well, and actually we work together on a lot of this stuff, like the curriculum and everything else. So that's an option. If you live right close to the St. Louis office and you need some extra help and want to go in there, that's not a problem. Okay, so there's that option. And also we have a tutor as well. Okay, we also have the tutor that could help you maybe in the St. Louis office, or he can help you online. Okay. And the most important thing is, don't give up. Keep at it. You can do this. It's all about, this course is going to be a lot more about effort. Obviously having some technical skills and abilities going to help you out a lot. But, most of the people who fail this course or don't do very well, it's usually because they're not devoting the time to do that, right? I can't even think of a situation where somebody's really devoting all their time and working really hard at it and not doing well. That doesn't happen very often. Usually it's because they're not devoting their time, okay? Or they just give up. Do want to talk a little bit about attendance. So attendance is kind of handled a little differently for an online course as opposed to an in-person class. If you go to an in-person class every day, they're going to have a certain start time. All right. And if you're late for that class, you're going to be marked as tardy. If you don't come that day, you're going to be marked as absent. All right. So if you're marked as absent, you only can have so many absences. Okay. And it's the same. You can only have so many absences for an online course, but that happens every day. For an online course, we don't take attendance every day. Attendance is determined by you completing assignments. So if you turn in your assignments, you submitted your written test, you submitted some work, then you're gonna be marked as present for that week. Okay, so attendance is recorded every Monday morning for the previous week. So Monday morning, I'll look if you've completed work. If you completed work, you're going to be present for the previous week. If not, you're going to be marked as absent. Okay. So there's a maximum allowable days of absence for this course is only 2. Okay. So basically, that's 2 whole weeks that you didn't turn anything in, right? Well, and it's not 2 weeks in a row, right? Any 2 week period, any 2 weeks that you didn't turn in work, then the third one, you'll be automatically, if you exceed two absences, which is a third one, then the registrar's office will automatically would withdraw you from the course. Okay. Now you can go ahead and file an appeal on that, and usually they're going to let you back in, but you'll have to go through that process if that's the case. But for an online course, it's not really hard. There's a very low bar for you to be marked as present for the week. So it's really, we have lots of different assignments every week. So all you got to really do is complete one assignment. You're going to be marked as present, right? So really, there's not really any real excuse for not being marked as present every week. But to be marked as present, students must actively participate at least once per week to be counted as present. To satisfy weekly attendance for this online course, students must complete one of the following actions: complete the written test on Inside Rankin, or submit an assignment to your GitHub repository, and that's the code, right? We're going to be putting our code in a GitHub repository, and that's a genuine attempt to complete the work, right? If you just checked in a blank file, that's not really a true attempt, but so you don't have to do much, right? Complete a written test or submit some kind of an assignment where you kind of are actually working on it, making a genuine attempt to complete the work. You're going to be marked as present. Do want to discuss course withdrawal and refund policy real quick. So you must drop the class, and the reason I want to talk about this now is because, to really withdraw from this class, if you're paying for it yourself, to withdraw from this class, you almost really have to withdraw from the very beginning before it even starts. So you must drop this class before the semester starts, before it even starts, to avoid responsibility for payment of fees. A 100% credit will be issued through the end of the day before the class begins. Okay? A day is defined as a working day. Okay, beginning with the first day of class, any student who withdraws from the college will receive a credit of institutional charges according to the following schedule. Withdrawing from the college during the first week, 90% credit. Withdraw from the college the second week, 60% credit. Okay. After the end of the second week of the semester, there is no refund or institutional charges due to withdrawal from the college. Okay. The student may forfeit any Rankin funded scholarship that may have been awarded while enrolled in the major. So I suggest that if for some reason you're thinking about doing that, you need to make sure you talk to the business office or student counselor. Make sure you work through that here early on, right? And obviously you can talk to me too. I'm just not, that's not my area, but obviously if you have some concerns and stuff, or you said this ain't for me, I want to know that. So, please do discuss that with me. But if there's other reasons than that, you really need to work through the process of the business office and so forth, or, talk to the student counselor to discuss that as well. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the work ethic grade. So all students at Rankin, besides their academic grades, they also have what's called the work ethic grade. Okay, and there's different areas that you'll be graded on. Okay, and so by default, everybody basically when they start out the course, they're all this first one here is meets expectations, right? Meets expectations. This is exceeds, meets, this is needs improvement, and this is, does not meet standards, okay? But all students start out with meets, okay, by default, starting the course. It's going to be a lot different for an online course as opposed to an in-person class. So there's a lot of different things that happen in an in-person class that's not relevant. You have to wear the right clothing, the right shoes. There's a lot of rules in place. You know, you're working with different people. You're sitting next to people. You're interacting a lot more with students and faculty and others. And so there's a lot more areas to grade for the work ethic. Okay, so for the most part, most online students are just going to have meet expectations throughout. Okay, there are some certain circumstances if you did some things just it's not just getting like a great grade, you know, a real good grade, but there are some certain circumstances a student could go well above, you know, well above their duties, so to speak, and they do something that they could have meets expectation or exceeds expectations, or if you're not doing things, you're not, you know, uh, you're not getting along with others for some reason, you know, or not getting along with faculty or other staff, you know, you may get some needs improvement, right? So, but that doesn't happen much in an online course. But I do want to mention that the important thing for an online course is make sure you treat everybody with respect. Um, you know, and that's probably the number one thing, right? And you know, do your work, be mindful of your work, do your work, and that's part of the work ethic. You know, making sure that you're setting a schedule, you're doing your work, you're getting everything completed, right? You're attending class, you're not being absent, right? Those can affect your work ethic grade just a little bit, right? So thank you for getting enrolling in the program, joining the course. I'm excited for you to begin your journey and build and hope. I'm hoping you'll build a strong foundation in the exciting world of web development. So please let me know if you have any other questions. The next video after this is going to be setting up your environment, and I will be getting that recorded here in the next few days. So everyone have a great day. Thank you very much.